all, because this cohort hasn't had a chance to have the opportunity to meet Josh. He's an amazing life strategist. He works with businesses, he works with individuals, corporations, in terms of strategic growth. And as y'all are moving to that next phase, I just wanted to leave you with some of his wisdom before you go. Just some quick housekeeping. I know I need to grade. But as you can see, we've been, very busy getting ready for today's grade. So we'll see those grades come in. No news is good news for me. So if you don't hear from me, great. That means you're all good to go. We do still have time. So if I have any concerns, I will let you know. We still have next week for revisions. And then next week we will do defense. So you do have one, actually, I guess that should be your last class, so you'll come in and do your final defense. But I have been observing you and grading you throughout that. So again, that's for cohort 6. Cohort 7, we'll see you guys in the fall. You're all mine. Start in the fall. And so with that, I do want to let Ron introduce our speaker, but before he does, because I'm going to have a seat and I'm going to help everybody kind of get paid up. Josh, I do want to thank you for driving all the way to Laredo. He is from Corpus Christi, my hometown. Thank you so much, Josh. Appreciate you. All right, with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Rena, who will give us our introduction for today.
Howdy, everybody.
Howdy.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the break and got to sample something sweet to keep the momentum going. Now, we are proud to close today's event with a powerful keynote presentation from someone whose leadership and expertise align perfectly with the goals of the symposium. Josh Henderson is a licensed Texas attorney and a strategic growth expert with over a decade of experience leading multi-million-dollar law firms. But what truly sets Josh apart is his commitment to developing a research-based methodology for strategic growth, a framework that integrates human behavior, systems thinking, and change management to drive personal, professional, and organizational transformation. Over the past 22 years, Josh's work has helped individuals, teams, businesses achieve accelerated growth in leadership, relationships, careers, and operations. With deep expertise in behavioral change and organizational development, Josh serves as a trusted advisor to leaders navigating complex growth challenges. Please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker, Josh Henderson.
I can't stand still, so I'm going to grab this and move. I don't know who that guy is that he's talking about, but my name's Josh Henderson. And I like to have conversational events. So I like to be interrupted, so hands or just start talking if you want to get into something. And I like to add value. So at the end of this, my hope is that you walk away with something that helps you, okay? First and foremost, congratulations on your progress and your conclusion of your journey in the program and your almost conclusion of your journey in the program. This is an amazing team of people. The staff that you get to work with going through this program are people that I admire and respect very much for what they do to help people, especially when it comes to management of organizations and leadership. So very excited for y'all. And they said talking to the microphone because we're recording this, but I also want y'all to talk too. So one of the things I would love to hear really quickly before we get into this is, how has this program changed you? Anybody can share some of that with me? Stories about how the program's changed you, yeah?
It's taught me basically that, it's a certain way you have to do certain things depending on the business you're going into.
Hold on, pause. Technical difficulties. I'll just walk around and hand this out.
There's two. There are two.
Okay.
It's taught me basically how different positions have different ways of changing the commands. For an example, we had the health science camp. So for us, it was like we couldn't just go and do things. We had to go through our supervisor, and then she had to go through her higher ups and everything like that. So some things that we came up with, we was like, no, you got to do this. Or like for an example, we didn't like the age group that we got. We tried to say it was older, but like, no, we're gonna stick with this. This is what we did before. But for them, I think they figured out we needed someone older. So we needed older kids. So for us, it was like we we had to go through something.
Yeah.
And if that's like one thing, a lot of kid people didn't have to do that. They can just do whatever they wanted. They had, so for me, I wanted to learn to change people, because it also changed that I didn't want to be a caregiver anymore. I want to be a leader.
Yeah.
I want to be the higher up.
Yeah.
That in everything, because like you make all the difference being a higher up than being a middleman.
Yeah. Well, and so what's really important about that is the idea that, the phrase leader sort of brings with it the idea of, this is going to be super cool and sexy. I'm going to be a leader. But sometimes it's about policies and procedures. And sometimes they don't make a lot of sense. They're not really easy to follow, and it's annoying to have to follow them to dot your I's, cross your T's. But being someone who is detail-oriented and is able to do that is part of leadership.
Yes, you can change the policies and make it better.
Yeah.
Instead of being the middleman and having to follow someone else, you can change the policies that you don't agree with and that work with the company.
Collaboratively, hopefully.
Hopefully.
What about anybody else? How the programs change you?
I was gonna add, I know she's saying the middleman, and then there's the leaders, but I feel that sometimes the middleman needs to have that communication with the leader, because sometimes the leader doesn't have that same communication with the employees as the middleman has. Like sometimes employees don't want to go and tell the higher up, but they'll tell the middle management. So it's kind of like all in collaboration.
Yeah.
And sometimes employees don't understand why those policies go in place.
And then sometimes it's like, one reason I want to be a leader is I want you to be able to come to me, and I want to have a sit down. I don't want to be a dictator per se. I want to be able to have a conversation. How can we change that with the middleman, and then go back to the employees?
Yeah. I don't want the IT people to hate me, so we'll figure out a way to deal with the microphone thing. Those are real life leadership issues, okay? And the curriculum that you go through, the education that you've received, there's this transition between knowledge and practice, right? And practice is never as clean as knowledge. It's always a little bit messy. And the point that you're making is, while there should be this program of communication through the organization, just like you said, you're going to find nodes of communication within the organization, sympathetic ears, right? You may not be able to go speak directly to the boss, but somebody does speak directly to the boss. And there's communication that can happen there, and it happens through those back channels sometimes, and you have your sympathetic parties. So it's not always formal rules, and the informal side of things can be really impactful as well. Never think that leadership means authority, because there's two kinds of leadership. There's authority-based leadership and there's influence-based leadership, right? So if someone gives you a title or makes a fancy speech about you and says that you know a lot, you can act on authority, but you can always act on influence. And influence and leadership tie together in the sense that at the end of the day, all leadership is helping people get what they want, okay? The art of leadership is figuring out how what they want aligns with the organizational wants, and then negotiating to get activity out of the person that helps them get what they want in a way that gets the organization what they want, okay? And you can scale that. That's relationship, but that's also any organization that you're a part of. You might be excited about horses, dogs, and chickens, but that's not for you, okay? So, but if y'all want slides, we can get them to you. Let's see if there's I'm just gonna click through these real quick. This is for y'all. As you're at the end of your program, near the end of your program, talking to the staff, the team, one of the things that we talked about was, well, how do you move into the real world with this? And for me, one of the biggest factors when it comes to being a leader is being a connector and being connected, okay? You've had this amazing team behind you the whole time. They're not gonna hold your hand when you go out in the real world. They will maintain a relationship with you if you're proactive about it, but they're not gonna just check up on you all the time and be like, everything's still going okay? Using all those concepts, you know? So now it becomes the burden on you, the onus to build your team, okay? So Superhuman is the idea of building out your team. And there's some glitches in this because it got downloaded from one place to another. Anybody heard of the book Who Not How by Dan Sullivan? Or read that one? Good book, good read, really important concept, okay? You've had your program support, but now there's this gap, okay? And the superhero idea is kind of the Avengers Assemble thing, right? Put together your team. There are going to be areas of your life, your career, any businesses that you start or you run, that require expertise, okay? And the idea of Who Not How is don't be an expert in everything. Be an expert in one thing or a small set of things, and then learn how to build teams of people around you that have expertise in other areas, okay? That dynamic is the core of this. And supporters are a part of that, okay? Everything that I do, let's put it this way. Name me a company that doesn't have any people in it. No people at all. Go ahead.
Cheers.
Hot take. So the caveat there is a company that still exists and is doing well, right? The fact of the matter is this: historically, companies, organizations exist to accomplish something for people, and they're always made up of people, right? So you're never going to find a situation where you're going to be out of that context, okay? So my framework is always the individual, okay? And then you stack upon that, okay? So as I look out at y'all and I see faces, there's the group, but each of you is an individual, okay? And here's the deal. All of us have our own lives, okay? And strategic growth is the idea that if you want growth to happen in any area of your life, you have to understand that what you're doing is inviting adversity, okay? Humans do not grow in comfort. We restore, we rejuvenate in comfort, but we grow in adversity, okay? There's two kinds. There's implied, there's applied, and there's chosen, okay? If you've been through a really tough time in life, lost somebody, had a financial setback, had a health issue, that's implied, that's applied, okay? That's something you didn't have any control over, it came into your life, you had to deal with it. And the reality is, whether you liked it or not, it had an impact on you, okay? And leadership and strategic growth center around, did it have the impact that you chose for it to have? Or did it have the impact that it forced on you? Did you change in ways that you didn't necessarily want to change? But if you want to master strategic growth, what you do is you go out and you seek the adversity. You seek specific kinds of adversity, okay? You know, I have a 16-year-old and twins that are 10. And each one of them have had this conversation with me where I've asked them, do you want the big life or do you want a little life? Not a lot of stuff, lots of cool stuff. I want the big life. Okay, I was like, look, here's the deal. If you want the big life, you have to do the hard stuff faster, sooner. That's the only way you get the big life. If you put off all the hard stuff and the tough stuff, and you wait and you delay and you don't do it right away, then what happens is you still have to do it anyways. But you lose all of the growth and the achievement that you would have made if you started sooner. Okay? You cannot get out of the tough stuff because it will always come. So on that side of things, you need this support in every area, okay? One of the topics that we deal with is the topic of poverty and homelessness, okay? Having a conversation with someone about the other day, and there's essentially three types of homelessness. There's situational, there's chronic, and then there's people that are dealing with mental health issues, okay? So you have someone who finds themselves in a position where I lost my home, and they're trying to figure out how to get back on their feet. Then you have people that have been homeless and they've been homeless for a long time. But they have the capacity to not be homeless, but it's become where they're at. And then you have mental health issues, okay? One of the dynamics that you see when you look at stories of homelessness is lack of relationships, lack of friends. Because finding yourself without resources also encompasses the idea of I don't have a network, I don't have a support system. And that is one of the biggest challenges, because you're not just out of resources, you're alone, okay? So as you go into your careers, the vision that you have for your careers, remember that those relationships go beyond just the job that you have. Because there have been so many opportunities that have come to me because of relationships that still existed, even though where it started isn't what it was anymore. I mean, Dr. G and I, for example, just knowing each other as friends, and then the overlap of her focus in her career and the overlap in mine. And the ability to be a part of what y'all are doing. You know, every cohort that I've been in front of, I've said, I do this to be available. And my time here isn't the end. The way I operate is, if you meet me and you know me, you have access to me. You would be surprised at the number of people that do not stay in touch with me after I've been in front of a cohort. And your team is making this resource available to you. I have a massive network. Almost anything that you might want to do in your career, there's probably somebody that Dr. G, Mr. Toro, Patty, could put in front of you. Maintain these relationships. Don't leave them behind. Put them in your contact book, set a calendar reminder, and check in with them and tell them how you're doing. Because for one, that's one of the greatest rewards of being able to help educate people, is knowing how it's going afterwards, okay? That emotional support is part of why I talk about that. You know, some of the stories you talk about, the change that's happened, the stress of leadership is one of the biggest challenges. Conflict happening in the organization, how to deal with it, how it makes you feel, how you have to suppress the desire to do bad things when other people do bad things to you. You know, and so the emotional element of it, just having someone that you can go to and say, look, I'm about to say a bunch of really terrible things. I just want you to listen, because once I get them out, then I'll move on and do the right thing. That ability to express the bad version of the thoughts to get to the better version of the thoughts, that's a huge need. And if you're in an organization and you're a leader, it should probably be someone outside of the organization. You don't want to do that inside. Okay? But there's other areas tied to that. It's the financial side of it. There's, you know, on the IT side of things, have someone have an insurance guy, have a banker, you know, have somebody that's an accountant, have somebody that's a lawyer. One of my best pieces of advice to anybody is find a lawyer, get to know them, make friends, get their cell number, and keep it. You know, and a lot of times, you know, if you get to know a lawyer sooner rather than right when you need them, you'll get better deals because they feel like you're their friend.
It's like my grandfather told me, be nice to everybody, be friends with everybody, because you never know when you're going to need them.
Exactly. And you don't know who they are. The reality is this. You can predict a lot of things about a lot of people. Human behavior is predictable. One of the things we say all the time is life is complex, but it is not complicated. I look out at this sea of faces, and I know several things. Once we're done here, at some point before the end of the day, almost every single one of you is going to think about what's for dinner. Right? Every single one of you is going to think about, I want to get home, I want to see the people I care about, and I want to have a roof over my head, and I want to be able to lay my head on the pillow, and I want to be able to get some rest. And then you'll do some other things that we won't talk about because it's not fun. But the reality is, we know these things. They're all predictable. And you're going to wake up in the morning, and probably about 75% of you are going to wake up and go, ugh. Because mastering your attitude in the morning and going into your day with a positive attitude is a discipline. So taking that knowledge and that idea of you never know who, you could predict a lot, but you never know everything. And the person in front of you, you might prejudge as the biggest dummy in the world. And then turn around and find out that they're running $1 billion company because they know something that you didn't know that they knew. It's a bad experience. But it's a two-way street, okay? Does anybody in here know a lawyer, personally? Okay, all right. Here's an example of that. I deal with people all the time, okay? My business primarily, mostly, is I tell other lawyers how to run their law firms, okay? So I spend a lot of my time connecting with other lawyers. And I'll go in and we'll address every functional area of their firm, and this unusual thing happens. They never open their mouth. Well, what they do is they don't, we're in this together, right? The idea is be a connector and get connected. Okay? You can't just take. You gotta be a connector and give connections, right? I have had to coach people on how to be a connector at a professional level in ways that sound like kindergarten, okay? Where you fail in your careers, it'll be over very simple things, okay? In that situation, if I say, hey, and so I'm a high-ticket consultant, okay? When I go into a law firm to tell them what they're doing wrong, it costs $10,000 for the discovery, okay? $10,000 to be told everything you're screwing up, okay? When someone says, hey Josh, you should call this lawyer and go tell them what they're doing wrong, and the lawyer pays me 10 grand to tell them what they're doing wrong, I pay referral fees, so I send that person that told me about the lawyer $1,000. And a lot of those things come in as texts or emails. Hey, you should meet this person. Hey Josh, you should meet them, you should meet them. I had to do that one time with someone in sales, because we do sales training too. I said, type this up. Hey, blank, I want you to meet Josh. Josh is an interesting guy to know. Josh, I want you to meet blank. Very interesting guy to know. Y'all should connect. So he types it out. I say, how long did that take? 30 seconds. When's the last time you made $1,000 in 30 seconds? When's the last time you made $200 an hour? That applies to all your careers too. You'll miss on simple, easy things. And it's the discipline of organization that will help you do all this, okay? As you go out there, I'm gonna give you, this is what we do master level sales training on, okay? So listen. Where do your contacts live? Personal contacts, where do they live? Digitally. Where is their information? Okay. Do you categorize them? Okay. This is master level sales in a nutshell, okay? We talk to people who've been selling their whole life. We say, what's your most valuable asset? They'll be like, my winning personality, okay? They'll be like, my knowledge of sales, my belief in the product. These are people who've been doing sales for 50 years. Say, no, it's your book of contacts.
Word of mouth.
People who know you. It's your book of contacts. It's all about people. Because this goes to another level, and this is, you take this too, okay? Because this is diversification of revenue. So if you want to have one income, that's great. You want to have two incomes, that's better. You want to have 20, that's nice, okay? And this is how you do it, okay? Data is resource. Our mind is incapable of processing, remembering all the information that's important to our vision for success. If you don't manage your personal data, your self-awareness profile, if you don't do reflection on how things are going, and then adapt to the challenges you're having, you're not going to do as well. You have to have the discipline of recording that information, going over it, and using it. If you will take your contacts in your phone, export the file to a CSV file, okay? It's very easy. It's easy to do. Go find you a free CRM, okay? Notion, Zoho, there's tons of free versions of a CRM out there. Upload the CSV into there, and then start categorizing your contacts, okay? Start putting people, put Ms. Del Toro on there, put Dr. G on there, put me on there. Put a next follow-up date in there. Schedule it out. Work off a task list, okay? If you manage your contacts that way, you will outpace 90% of the people around you in the workplace. Because for one thing, those are your contacts, okay? This is a legal loophole, okay? I'm gonna tell you this. If you work at a company, and that company wants you to meet people in order to do business with, what they want you to do is meet those people and put those people's names and contact information into their system, okay? If you do that, they own that contact. If you have a CRM of your own and you meet the person and put it into yours first, it's your contact first. And then you share it with the company. And then when you leave the company, you still have all your contacts. And nobody writes employment contracts well enough to prevent you from using your contacts to your benefit. That's
So
it.
in other words, you come before the company.
Of course. Why do we go to work? Why is Sears doing so badly? Right? Like, we go to work for us. Right? We go to work because, I look like this and I like pizza. Right? At the end of the day, I don't want to go hungry. I want a roof over my head. I want to be able to take care of my family. I will share some of my snacks with my children. But we go to the work for us. The difference between bad companies and good companies is bad companies assume that you want to be there doing that work. Good companies understand you're only there for yourself. And they find out what you want, and then they leverage it in a bargaining process to get you to do what they want in exchange to get you get what you want. That's fair bargaining, right? What's something that's been happening in the workplace where bosses are frustrated because employees are doing something and bosses don't know how to deal with it? Anybody heard of this thing that's happening? They have a phrase for it. It starts with a Q.
Quiet quitting.
Quiet quitting?
Quiet quitting. What's that mean, quiet quitting?
Doing.
Do what they're paid to do, leave it at 5 o'clock, not schedule anything.
Yeah, y'all been indoctrinated. The bad guys are the one that came up with that phrase. It's the bosses that came up with the phrase quiet quitting. You know what it actually is? Informed employment. What's happened is through social media, YouTube, TikTok, all the other places that people are posting. They're posting content to get people's attention. And now you have employment lawyers and other professionals that are sharing information about how employment law works, right? So what's been happening for years is the workforce is getting better educated on how employment law works. And what they figured out was, if you said 8 to 5, and I said, okay, for this much money, you can't say, show up at 7. That's not how the law works. Okay? And they're like, well, can you come in on Saturday and finish that project? Yes, it might take me a while. Like how long? How late will you be here? Monday, right? That's how late I'll be. They can't make you do stuff that you didn't agree to. And it's not because y'all or the workforce has a bad attitude, it's because that's how contracts work, okay? So this whole dynamic arose because bad bosses were like, we can't abuse our employees anymore. And it's like, learn, grow. And if you want to be great leaders, remember that anytime somebody on your team wants something, you're allowed to bargain again, okay? So if you have a bad person on your team and they're like, well, I don't like getting here at 7:30. Okay, what would it take for you to get here at 7:30? Or what time do you want to be here? Well, I want to be here at 9. Okay, if you come in at 9, are you willing to do all of this stuff in order to get special treatment?
That can also be a double-edged sword, right, the other way around as well.
In what way?
You show the positive in a way where you have an employee that's not so good.
Yeah, I mean, potentially. But everything comes down to thinking outside the box, okay? How does that situation go badly? Give me a scenario.
The employee doesn't come in on time, or whatever, asking for, same thing you said, almost the same situation, but in the opposite way.
Yeah. When you say opposite way, do you mean the boss is not doing stuff? Or
No, the employee,
the employee is doing good stuff?
bad.
Bad. Maybe I'm not getting it. But here's the point. If you're the boss, you have something you want, okay? If the employee isn't doing what you want, one concept of strategic growth is this: total ownership. You're the boss, it's your fault. You're not a boss if you go around blaming everybody else for stuff going wrong. You're a boss, it's your fault. You figure it out, okay? If you can't get your people to do what you want them to do, you're a bad boss, okay? Because a lot of times we get gridlocked into how it is and we forget that we're making our own reality, right? You can stop doing stuff. If you find yourself doing stuff that you don't think's right, you stop doing it, right? If you're accommodating somebody being late, you can wake up in the morning and go, yeah, I don't want to do that anymore, right? And I can go to you and I can be like, I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. Here's your options. Remember, everybody likes options better than being dictated to, right? You give them options. Hey, look, keep showing up late. Here's what we're going to do. Sign this, okay? You have this much runway left. But part of it is you can use crucial conversations. You don't have to just run into it. You can use influence, use psychology, okay? Does anybody have a challenge? Who's employed right now? Let's put it this way. Okay. Do any of y'all have a challenge that you're dealing with at work right now that you can talk about without getting in trouble because it's related here?
With the boss?
Yeah, sure.
I think he's a person that tries to dictate rather than be democratic about inputs and ideas. When you give him an idea, it's like, no, I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna go well. But in my case, I can say I work in an accounting firm. So I got a raise recently, but not because he wanted me there, but because he really needed me. And I was like, no, let me bargain because I'm already getting something more extra. And well, I bargained with him and he gave me what I wanted.
Okay.
But most of the time, what he's like is he tells you, oh, it's because he doesn't know. But I really need you.
Yeah.
So I have no option because he doesn't know.
Yeah.
And it's just gossip, pretty much with it.
Okay.
But in that case, I feel that it has to do a lot with the employee as well. I
Yeah.
mean, if you've been there for a certain time and they don't see your value, either you look for something better or you tell them, you know what, you're offering me over here and over here.
Yeah, total ownership goes both ways, right? You're always the one responsible for your own life. Take total ownership applied to you first, and then hold other people to the standard, right? Whatever's happening in your life, your fault. It may not actually be your fault. Like, that's the caveat. Like, I understand there's things that aren't your fault. There's things that has happened with my business that aren't my fault. But I treat them all as though they are my fault. Because when I do that, I'm in control. I'm choosing what to do next instead of sitting around going, I can't help it, this thing happened, you know? Dr. G knows that like last year I actually shut down my law firm and my consulting firm because lights went off at the house when there was a storm, power outage, walked out front to see what was going on, fell down the front porch, shattered my right elbow, couldn't work. 4 months of recovery, right? Survived off of what I built, got recovered, started all over again. Already at a place that's better than most people make it to. Because you can do those things, but you can't do them if you're blaming everybody else. And so in that employee situation, here's the thing. Your boss wants things too, right? Your boss also isn't showing up to work because he wants to work. Like even people who own companies are owning them and running them for a reason, right? They like nice things too, right? The reason they want their team to do stuff is so that they can get stuff. You should have a profile on your employer. Go home, pull out a piece of paper, put your boss's name at top of it, and start writing. What does he want? Start defining what he wants. Recast what's going wrong in the team, not from your perspective, but from his perspective. Hey boss, I just want to let you know, I'm aware that you want these things, and this is something that's preventing you from getting that. I know how to solve it. Here's the other thing. Don't bring a problem, bring a problem and a solution, right? And if you're really good, bring a problem and 4 to 5 solutions so that they can pick and make the one that you want them to pick sound best, right? So that is something that is really, really important with that side of things. I'm off the rails, I don't care, it's fine. I think when y'all lead and direct the conversation, it's better anyways. But going back into this idea, the people around you are your resources, right? In my CRM, I have a list called the burn list. It's just a tag on the contact, right? And I don't delete people. If it went bad, I put them in the burn list. And then I put my next follow-up on the burn list further out. Instead of following up with those people every 10, 20, 30 days, follow up with them every 90 days. What I do is I think, how can I poke this person and irritate them again in a way where they'll go talk about me to somebody else who doesn't know anything about me, who will find out about me and like me. Okay? Because your worst enemies will still send you business, unintentionally. Like, I hate that Josh Henderson. Who's Josh Henderson? Oh, it's this guy that grows companies. Oh, he grows companies? Yeah. And then they go Google me and they find me and they're like, yeah, I heard about you from this guy and I was curious about what you do. Right? And that's literally happened. So save your enemy's contact information too. Right? Work both ways. Somebody's sabotaging you, introduce them to somebody you don't like. Just kidding, that's bad. Don't do that.
If anyone's talking about you bad or good, it's always good.
Yeah, it's PR, right? My name in other people's mouth is good real estate, okay? That's compensation real estate. Because yeah, people will go do their homework, you know, and it's one of those things where part of what people don't understand is when you're griping about somebody, super relevant to the political landscape right now, right? Because everybody hates somebody right now, politically. But the more you talk about them, the more you're promoting, unintentionally. And, you know, that's not where the change happens. Change happens here among us, grassroots level, always. So the relationship side of it's really important. Where are we sitting at? What's our deadline?
I think we're kind of ready for Q&A and.
Okay. So the exercise side of this, I would encourage y'all to still do this. Be connected, okay? This is for you to start building out your supporting team member list. The kicker on it is this. Find somebody to swap lists with, okay? You should be connected to people in here. If you've not intentionally connected with your peers, this is a big group. What can this size of a group accomplish if they work in a concerted way? A lot. If y'all go out into the Laredo community as a group, say you think tactically and you split it up into geographical areas, right? You take this section, I'll take that section. Is this group big enough to have a pretty significant impact on the community with a consolidated message? Yes. Yeah. They probably have an email list. You've probably gotten emails with everybody's emails on it. So remember, it starts there. So that's what that exercise is for. And then you have the Big 10, okay? Big 10, this is hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of information right here. This is how I grow companies, because everything's a framework, and every company is just a group of people using processes and systems to accomplish some specific goal, and this is how you do it, okay? Every time I go to coach an owner on how to build their team or do human resources, self-awareness is a part of that. You want to motivate your team? Know your team. Bring them in, get eyeball to eyeball with them. What are your strengths? What are your skills? What gets you upset the fastest? What's your vision for yourself? What's the biggest challenge that you're having right now? What are some painful things that you're going through? Right? Take time to learn them. In the last cohort, we did a demonstration of that. One of the students volunteered, and 2 minutes in, you could tell. She's like, dang, this person knows a lot about me now. It doesn't take that long to learn a lot about someone, but you have to ask questions and shut up for a while, right? And if you have the boldness to go, hey, where are you from? You got any brothers and sisters? Why are you doing this? What's the big vision, right? You'll be able to catalog that information and remember, oh, that person might be the president of a bank one day because that's what they want to do. I'll make a note. Somebody's like, you know any bankers? And you go to your CRM and you search, you're like, yeah, I do. I'm back in my school days, right? So fill it out, use these tips. All of those tips on there are actionable. You can do it. If in 6 months that sheet isn't in your possession anymore and you haven't done those things, you have failed yourself. That is where your failure will come from, yourself. Surround yourself with people who have knowledge, ask them to actively support you, and then you be consistent with supporting other people, and you will succeed. Okay? Questions on any of that?
That's such an important message, and I think he said it best. And there's folks in this room who have political aspirations, there's people who are going into a lot of different things. You need to keep your network, guys. You have a very strong group, and he said it the best. You already have this group of people who all want to do the same things, is be leaders in different industries. May not happen today, may not happen 2 or 3 years, it may be 10 years down the road. Some of these people are going to be presidents of banks, superintendents, you know, all these different things, and you know them. So keep in contact. Be a part of the alumni. And like you said, don't forget about people. We've known each other years, and we may only talk twice a year. But he has things, I show up, I'll drive down to Corpus, I'll go to a board meeting, I'll show up for his foundation, and he'll show up when I need him to come to things, and that's how this relationship works. I help him, he helps me. And
I bury all of her bodies.
he buries all of my bodies, you'll never know where they're at.
Don't get in your head. Don't get in your head. Hey, so I've had a little bit of time. Reticular activating system, okay? Everything I do is based off of how people work. That means I study psychology, biology, all this kind of stuff, right? There's a back part of your brain, right? Your subconscious, okay? It processes data at thousands of times faster than the forefront of your mind on purpose. Because have you ever started thinking about something, problem, challenge, and you're like, I can't figure this out. And then you're doing something else, you're cooking spaghetti, you're laying in bed in the middle of the night, and all of a sudden you're like, and something comes and you're like, I got it, I figured it out. You had that moment?
Yeah.
That's not an accident. That's how your brain works. I tell people that when I connect with someone first time, I network all the time, I connect all the time. I meet them, I Zoom with them, I talk to them. What's your vision? What are your challenges? Oh man, I love that vision. Definitely understand what those challenges are like. Could I support you in some way in achieving that vision, overcoming those challenges, if I can think about it? They're like, yeah, of course. I'm like, yeah, I don't know how I would do it right now, but if you give me a little bit of time, something will probably pop up. I know it's gonna pop up. I probably already know what I wanna do, but I'm telling them that because it's just polite to wait a little bit of time, and then I'll email them the next day and be like, you know, I was thinking about it, and one thing I'd love to do is, okay? That way of doing things, we've all had this experience too, right? You think of somebody, all of a sudden your phone rings, and you're like, oh, that's freaking weird. I was just thinking about you. We've all had that moment, right? This is a little bit fringe, okay? You don't have to believe what I believe, but I'm gonna tell you what I believe. There's a part of us that exists outside of the biological, okay? It communicates differently than the way we communicate mouths and ears. Something happens when you think, and somehow it does get communicated, okay? Some parts of the world, they call that manifestation, okay? But the reality is this, thoughts do have an impact somehow, because that happens too often to be an accident. How is it possible that we all have that same experience? Oh man, that's so weird, I was just thinking about you. And somebody calls us. Can't be an accident. We'll never understand how it works, don't even bother. But since we know it happens, leverage it. And that goes to your point. You just call them and say, you know, I was thinking about you, and I thought I'd call and check and see how you're doing.
We're going to offer a master class in manifestation. It really is, I'm a big believer. Call it whatever you want. But there's things that we don't know. But when you put those vibes out there, you know, like positive vibes only. But when you put those positive vibes out to other people, you're gonna get it back. Also, supporting each other on social media. You know, sometimes, and I tell Priscilla this all the time, because she doesn't know it's me, because we own a company, car detailing. And I'll be like, great job. And she's like, why is this car detailer telling me I'm doing a great job? Okay. I'm like, you know that's me, right? It's telling you a great job. But putting out without wanting anything in return. You know, really congratulating people and being sincere in your, you know, taking the time to, and not just posting about yourself, but for recognizing others, sharing what they're doing, supporting their businesses, and just make it a point when you get a couple of minutes, something pops into your head, just thinking about you.
Just text them.
Hope the kids are doing well. You were just in my thoughts. And you never know when they really maybe needed that. For some reason, they needed to hear that.
When I'm trying to close prospects, I'll do that. You know, they're supposed to pay me money. It goes to bill collections, right? You got an invoice that's outstanding and you need somebody to pay it, don't try to collect it. Just be like, hey man, hope you're having a great Friday, hope you had a great week, hope you have a good weekend. They know that they owe you. And when you text them and you don't bring it up, it's the elephant in the room, right? You're like, yeah man, thanks man, I really appreciate it. I'm gonna get that check to you on Monday. Oh, okay, cool. Thanks, appreciate it.
I do that with my sister with my baby, because she forgets to pay me sometimes. I say, hey, how's the baby? She's like, oh yeah, but I paid you.
Yeah, I'll tell you this, I know we're coming to the end of our time. You know, the slides, I think there's this. Forgot I had them up. Know your enemies, that's really important. Isolation, fear, and pride, okay? Isolation, fear, pride. If you're all by yourself, you're not gonna have resources. If you're letting fear drive you, you're not gonna overcome. And if you're too proud to admit that you need help, that'll cause a problem. This is what I want you to see. Either take a picture or write down that email address, okay? Everything I do, no matter who it is, an individual or a company, everything starts with a growth profile. Growth profiles are free. Any single one of you can go there, create a growth profile, and I will give you a strategic growth plan based off of what you tell me for free. That's my commitment to Laredo College for letting me be a part of this. You have access to me, okay? I will not proactively reach out to you. That's not my job, okay? But you can always reach out to me. And if you don't, and you have a problem, and you don't reach out to Dr. T, or Dr. Patty, or me, that is your problem, okay? Don't let that be your problem, okay?
Can I give this to my sister? Is that
Yes, anybody can do that.
And guys, I will tell you, it works. And a lot of what you learned, you're gonna be like, wait, did I do this in module 1? And so we do, a lot of what you learn in the courses, you know, like the different archetypes and the, you know, all of that, you'll go into it more in detail. But it's so nice to have a person to really coach you and talk to you about what's next, what do you want to do? And so, invaluable. He has been very generous. I know if 5 people take us up on it, you know, then they'll be the luckiest 5 people, because that's a very expensive personalized service that he's offering you guys to help you out for as you start to transition a little bit. And, you know, I know not everybody's going to do it, so I can say, Josh, can you help? Because that's just, like you said, the ones that do excel. I mean, because it's one of those things that it's just going to take you to another level. Also, if you're working with different organizations, different companies, he can do this for a company. He can come in and work with the folks, and so just a very good resource. But we could go on and on for days and days, but I do want to thank you, Josh, for speaking with our students. And it's just those things we wanted you to think about it. And, you know, I think later on we're going to develop a master class on manifestation, because there's more. There's so much more to your growth. Like right now, y'all just learned the book smarts, and now there's another part, which is the spiritual part and the giving part and the service part that can launch you even further. Learning about yourself, learning about others can launch you even further. And so maybe we can come back and do a little something on making that roadmap to what's next for you. The sky's the limit. Wealth, jobs, success, it's just all about what the goals you set for yourself and really being intentional in reading those goals. But let's give Josh a very big hand.